Here we are. We're approaching evening on another day, and day 6 of the Ukraine campaign. I think somebody gave me a wonderful adage today, and it's brilliant. The standards you walk past are the standards you accept. We cannot walk past something and say nothing if we think it's wrong. And today, we've learned that tomorrow, the 3rd of March at noon, all children in Russia are going to be given a broadcast, and their teachers have been told exactly what they're going to teach. Now, I spent quite a lot of years teaching teachers how to teach in Russia. That was one of the jobs I did, and I loved doing it. And I went into a lot of primary schools particularly, and I saw some things I liked and some things I was horrified by. I remember particularly how a little boy, you're not supposed to put your hand up above this position in a Russian school, and a little boy stuck his hand right up over his head and got very excited, and the class teacher, who was observing the lesson that my students were giving, strode towards the back of the class, slapped the boy round the back of his neck and said, "Shut up, Sergey, you're always talking." Now that was a lesson that we were filming so that we could discuss it in the university the following day. And I said, "Who is this woman in grey?" And the girls, my students, were quite amused and were quite surprised that I was shocked. I was shocked. Russian schools can be quite aggressive. It may not be what they always intend to be. And, you know, Russia, in my university, it was one of the universities, it was one of the places where one of the main proponents of modern teaching skills worked, a man called Vygotsky. And his portrait covered one side of the building. Now, tomorrow, all school children in Russia are going to be subject to propaganda. They're all going to be receiving a broadcast, and their teachers are going to have to follow up that broadcast with lessons about the dangers of NATO, about how Russia rose to defend the population of Donetsk and Luhansk, how there's a lot of fake news around, particularly on the internet, how the operation in Ukraine is not a war, how there is no threat at all to the civilian population. And also the school teachers are going to be expected to play Putin's speech announcing the invasion. QR codes are going to be delivered to school children so that they can access trustworthy sites. And they're going to be given the slogan that this liberation exercise is a necessity. All I can say to that is that we've been in this territory before, and I think it was Goebbels who said that if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. We've seen a lot of support for Ukraine from younger people, but younger people in secondary school are all going to be targeted as our primary school children tomorrow on the 3rd of March at noon Russian time. I find this level of propaganda really quite frightening and really appalling. And although in the West we've got, there are a number of people suggesting that Putin's power is waning, that all we need is to apply a little bit more economic sanctions, this misunderstands. This misunderstands the popularity of Putin, particularly around the country where people only have access to this information through the state-controlled media. If you tell people enough, if you tell people the lie enough, it becomes the truth. And it took a long time to get rid of Hitler, to get rid of Napoleon, because the people believed the lie they were fed. And I'm afraid Putin is extremely good at manipulating, creating, and sustaining that lie. And everything the West throws at Russia at the moment is simply going to perpetuate that lie. The more economic sanctions we throw, the more those sanctions bite, the more people realize they cannot trade, they cannot buy food, their ordinary life is restricted. They will look at the West and they will say this is because NATO is dangerous and NATO is threatening the survival of Russia. I'm afraid our actions which I think are right, will be portrayed in a very alarming way, and we have to be prepared for that. And I don't think we have prepared fully for that. I'll come back to all this later.